Welcome to the Childcare Genius Podcast, the world's leading authority on childcare marketing, mindset, expansion, and profitability. Our host, Brian Duprey, is the world's most sought-after childcare coach, having helped tens of thousands of childcare owners from around the globe take their business to the next level. Let's welcome to the Childcare Genius Podcast, our host, Brian Duprey.
Hello and welcome to the Childcare Genius Training Podcast. I am Brian Duprey, your host, and with me this week is my co-host, Kym Pomares. Hi, Kym. How are you?
I am doing awesome. I hope you are as well.
Welcome back to the Childcare Genius Podcast. Kym is one of my amazing professors, coach on the Childcare Genius University faculty. And today we're going to be talking about a really cool topic. And we're going to call it a team scorecard or an employee scorecard. What is an employee scorecard, Kym?
It's a method of rating or evaluating your teachers or your staff to see whether they're meeting expectations. And it, when used properly over time, it helps them either, see how they can improve, and hopefully they do, or you can also see if they start declining, and then what do you need to do about it?
Awesome. So, I've seen different clients use different methods and how to evaluate staff from an A grade scale to a numeral scale. I love the way you do this. So what are some things that you're rating in your team scorecard?
Well, let me step back and say, over the years, I created numerous scorecards or evaluations that had high numbers and a lot of questions. They were very involved, they were cumbersome, and they never flew. We would try and implement them, and there was so much work that they just died. So a couple of my goals were, one, it was simple and easy to fill out, and that it hit the things that you really are the most important things. So we had it divided into three sections. The top section, or the first section, had all of our core values in it. So they were scored on all of their core values. And instead of getting into large numbers, like, you got 20 and your whole score is 100, it was 0, 1, or 2. And it was never, it was just simplified. It was never, some of the time, and usually. And so the scoring, the numbers were low, but simple to handle. So you scored them on your core values, on each of your core values. The second section we took from, you may have heard of the book, Seat on the Bus. And it talks about whether, a person is a runner, like, they're your A players, B is a walker, and on down. And you scored them on those. The last section, I called it, we selected our school pain points. For instance, if you have a problem with your teacher showing up on time, that would be something that they would get scored on. If dressing properly was something that was an issue, that would be something. So the total score on this sheet was like 20, the highest they could get. And from their score, you could determine if they're going to get a raise or a bonus. You can use it however you want to in that respect. You can build it any way you want to, but my point was that it needed to be simple. It needed to be something that they filled out, you filled out, and they filled out, and very clear, so they could see, oh, I got a really bad score because I'm late all the time, but I can get a higher score. I can fix that by setting my alarm clock 5 minutes earlier. I wanted it to be clear and simple and easy to implement, and it has really caught on. A lot of people have taken my original scorecard and they made it theirs, but they've taken the principle of it being clear and simple.
Yeah, and that's a good way to get people to improve, is by knowing, if you don't know what you're doing wrong, you're not going to improve it. And there are some owners that don't say anything. Like, they're just so happy people show up. They don't care if they're late, and they get walked all over, because there's just gratitude that they actually have people that actually show up. But you can't. Silence is acceptance, and you can't have that. And if you nicely show them how they could have got a higher score, which might have yielded a higher raise, everybody always tends to want to do better. And the cool thing about this, if you do the same evaluation 6 months later, you're comparing apples to apples. And you can see if they've increased or decreased. And some people might go down in some areas because their workplace attitude has shifted down. So are there any other areas to track, or that's pretty much mostly how you do it?
That was it, because I didn't want it to be long. I didn't want it to be something that you couldn't get them to fill out, or that the director was saying, I've got 60 of these to fill out. You want me to do 100 questions for 60 people? I wanted it to be something that actually would get used. And thankfully, it turned out that way. By keeping it short and simple and very clear, it's effective.
I can remember when I was in the Navy, I remember I was like just hit E5. I was probably 20 years old. And my boss said, you got to do your own evaluation. That was hard. Of course, I thought it was perfect. So, it turned out, I wrote a really, really good one. And thankfully, he agreed with me. But that was very difficult. And I'm sure that's very hard for employees to do that. Maybe not so much today because of the selfie world. Everybody thinks they're so perfect. So I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe it is easier for this generation. I don't know. But I just find it difficult to sometimes talk about yourself in a positive light.
But they didn't have to write anything. They just had to give themselves a 0 or 1 or a 2. Again, just trying to keep it really simple so that they will follow through with it. And it's true, a lot of them were, who like for being tardy. A lot of them thought, oh yeah, on time. And then you pull out their timesheets and you're like, what about this day, this day, this day, this day, this day? That it's an eye opener for them. But that it puts it back in their hands. You can get up earlier and get here on time and get a better score and get a better raise, or not.
I love that. And you could put, any category you want to, at your school, any category you want to add in there and track, by all means, make it your own. We're just giving you a couple ideas, but you should have something. And we recommend, at least I recommend, Kym, you could weigh in, but, the first 90 days, you need to do an evaluation on somebody, at least, and then at least annually after that. And then if you ever have problems with somebody, you need to do it more frequently. But would you recommend doing it more frequently than that?
I think at least quarterly, if you can. If it's too cumbersome, then at least every 6 months. Once a year is not often enough because people just, they forget. They think, no, I'm a great employee. I've been a great employee all year. How can you give me this terrible score? It gives them, by doing it, spacing it out more frequently, you also are giving them the opportunity to correct their behavior.
Good point. All right, so you have changed my mind. I know in my state it's required annually, but that's the minimum standard. So I like that. And yeah, 6 months does go by fast, but it is a long time between evals. If it's a long time for behavior that should be corrected to correct. So yeah, good point. But definitely within the first 30 to 90 days, on a new employee would need to do one, just so they see where they're at, and that gets a basis to start with as well. Awesome. Well, thank you, Kym. This was some really cool ideas on how to, bring your center's work performance up. I love how it's tied to core values, because that you should be ranking. You should be hiring to core values, firing to core values, disciplining, and also rewarding to core values. So why not make it part of your evaluation? That makes so much sense. So if you're struggling in your business and need help, if you have never done a coaching call with me, let's hop on a call together. Let me give you some ideas on how to help you where you're struggling, whether it be evaluations, finances, enrollment, marketing, whatever. If you're a center owner, go to childcaregenius.com. Under the coaching tabs, I'd like a free coaching call. Get on my calendar. We'll spend 30 to 45 minutes together. I'll give you some really good ideas to help you move your business forward. So I'd like to thank my guest co-host today, Kym Pomares, for coming on to the Child Care Genius podcast training series. And I appreciate you taking your time and sharing your wealth of knowledge with our listeners. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Child Care Genius podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please do us a favor and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a future episode. Don't forget to visit our website at childcaregenius.com to see a list of services we offer to help grow your childcare business. Until next time, thank you for being a part of the Childcare Genius community.